Are you looking to invest in a donut franchise? Have you heard of big chains like Krispy Kreme, Dunkin Donuts, as well as emerging concepts? In today's episode, I want to go through the donut industry and what you should know as you start your search to potentially invest in a donut franchise. So if you're looking to get into a donut franchise, there's a lot of different chains. And first you got to start, what's your budget? You can open up in an airport a donut franchise for as little as $100,000. But if you want to build a donut franchise like a Dunkin Donuts from zero and also own the land, own the building, and have like a nice drive-through, it could cost you $2 to $5 million to build that donut franchise as well as own the land. So what's your budget and how much leverage are you comfortable using? Do you want to own the business outright, invest $500,000 cash, you own the franchise and you have an inline donut business and a shopping center and you're leasing the space? Or are you open to potentially levering up and that $500,000 investment for that inline donut franchise, maybe it is just $50,000 cash and then a $450,000 SBA loan or 401k rollover to open up the business. So once you determine your budget, you can start looking at specific donut franchises. And some donut franchises might do better in non-traditional spaces, such as like an airport or a college cafeteria. And then other ones might do better, in a drive-through or a more traditional location, like in a strip center. So depending on your budget, you can start looking at specific franchises. And it's going to be a big thing is what's this particular territory? Where ideally is there brand recognition that people know that business? So there are some, regional favorites where if you're in New England, everyone knows Dunkin Donuts. Maybe nationwide, everyone knows Dunkin Donuts. But, if you're in South Florida, you might not have heard of Scooter's Coffee. But if you're in Texas and the central US, you might have heard of Scooter's Coffee, and that already has brand recognition, and it's going to be probably easier to get significant customers into your store without exhausting your marketing budget. So what territory is available, and ideally that donut franchise already has some brand recognition, so you don't have to spend a ton of money on marketing, letting the customers know how good your donut franchise is, or a lot of there's an overlap a lot with donut and coffee franchises. Like Dunkin Donuts is making a ton of their money on coffee. The two categories, there's actually quite a lot of overlap there. Or even Tim Hortons is traditionally a coffee franchise, but it is selling a lot of baked goods, for example. So another factor to consider, the unique flavors, styles, like how important is it that they're changing the menu a lot? How passionate are you about donuts? Or is it just more about the money and you're fine making your margin maybe from higher margin products like coffee sales from your donut franchise? Is the atmosphere really important? Are you going to be a very active owner and be there day to day? Or are you looking to really scale up and open up not just one location, but 5 locations, 10 locations, and really be more of an executive type role? If you're more of an executive type role, it doesn't have to be the best place to hang out. It doesn't have to be that third space, as they call it, where like Panera Bread's invented that. It doesn't have to be super cozy. If you're not going to be an owner operator, you might be fine with just having it be as practical as possible and ideally as high profit as you can. So we've done videos on Dunkin Donuts, also Duck Donuts. For those that don't know Duck Donuts, they have about 100 locations. Just 2 are corporately owned and managed. The franchise fee for a Duck Donuts is $40,000. The investment amount's not that bad, $340,000 up to $531,000. The failure rate is a little higher than industry median, as we have for the past year, 7% failure rate, industry median 5%. All franchises 4%. Food franchises in general fail at a little higher percentage than other industries, especially when you compare less failure-prone industries like real estate or healthcare, for example. So Duck Donuts investment midpoint, $436,000. For other food concepts and donut concepts, that's right about there. The financial performance for all the franchise locations in the reporting year from 2021, they did average sales of about $550,000, with the highest performing store doing about 1.4 mil and the lowest performing outlet doing 143. The affiliate owned outlet did 734,000. So the one that's owned by the franchisor or affiliated with the franchisor did do better. And they do disclose their costs as a percentage of gross sales. So food costs were 18%, labor costs 24%. So running a pretty tight ship. However, at $550,000 in average gross sales, and even if you're running at a 20% profit margin, if you had invested, $500,000, open up your Duck Donuts. It took a year and a half to open up, get the permits, break even, and start having substantial cash flow. It's still going to take 5, 6, maybe even 7 years to recoup your initial capital investment if you invested all in cash. And then Dunkin', they're the heavyweight in this category. So I mentioned Krispy Kreme, went through up and coming Duck Donuts. Dunkin' has 8,200 plus locations in the US alone. The franchise fee is going to set you back $50,000. And the initial investment amount is going to vary. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, for a donut franchise, you got to decide what you want. If you want non-traditional, Dunkin' Donuts, you could open up $95,000 in like an airport, just like a small build out where maybe the airport is really giving you the space ready to go, and you have the fryers and everything set and barely any issues with the permits, and you can just move forward all the way up to $1.6 million. That doesn't include the land costs. So if you want to also own the Dunkin' Donuts, the land, which a lot of Dunkin' Donuts franchisees do, that's going to set you back, could be another $1 to $5 million plus, depending if you're opening up here, say in Miami Beach, and you want to open up the land. And you want to also own the land, or if you're opening up in the suburbs or a small town near Omaha, Nebraska, it's probably going to be close to that $1 million mark to also own the land. Failure rate is quite low. 1 year failure rate, just 2%. And then a 3-year failure rate at 5% for Dunkin' Donuts. Not many for sale. Over the past 3 years, they've had 9% turnover. So it looks like a lot of their established franchisees continue to grow with the brand. There's not too much turnover. That investment amount is a bit steep though, at $891,000, double the industry median. So it is quite costly getting into Dunkin' Donuts, if you can even get into a Dunkin' Donuts. They don't have them available in Florida, New England, and across the United States. However, you can look at resales, but we're seeing paying 6 times, 7 times the EBITDA. Looking at some of the averages, basically average Dunkin' Donuts doing a little over $1 million across the United States for a freestanding location. And if you're making 20% profit margin on that, $200,000, you're gonna have to pay 1.2, maybe a little more, to buy that Dunkin' Donuts. So it's probably going to be cheaper starting from zero than buying an existing Dunkin' Donuts. But if you're in a territory where you can't open one from scratch, you might have to buy one Dunkin' Donuts, but most likely you're going to have to buy multiple Dunkin' Donuts, as they really like to have operators that don't just have one location, but have multiple locations in their system. So the financials are pretty solid for Dunkin' Donuts. We'll also include a link to our article on Dunkin' Donuts. One of the top brands, one of my favorite big brands in the franchise industry. And you can open one from zero depending on your market, but you're most likely gonna have to look at franchise resales for a Dunkin' Donuts. So that's a little bit about the donut industry. If you're looking to open up a donut franchise, understand your budget, how much you can invest, how important is the brand and product to you, or is it more about the money? And what are your plans? Are you looking to just be a single unit operator and be in the location every day? Or do you want to have a mini donut empire that you could potentially pass on to your kids? I hope you liked today's episode. Shoot me an email at patrick@vetedbiz.com if there's any interesting donut franchises that you'd like us to cover over a franchise analysis. Thanks.